Hey, what's up YouTube? This is a little video to show how I built a soprano ukulele out of a VW Wolfsburg hubcap. So this is one of my ukulele builds. Here's another one, and another one, and another one, and finally the one I'm going to look at today. So I've made 4 so far. We have a salad bowl ukulele, a 100-year-old violin, and then a fretless salad bowl ukulele, and today is the VW hubcap ukulele. So on this first picture over here, you can see I like to draw a scale diagram up on the top, and I've just sort of put all my resources at the bottom. So I have a bamboo composite chopping board, I have a Wolfsburg VW hubcap, I have a ready-made soprano fretboard from China, very good quality. I'm not going to mess around with those measurements, it's really fiddly. I'm not that good a luthier, and they only cost about £8 and very, very efficient. And I match them up to my top quality ukuleles, and the frets are perfectly laid in with nice little mother of pearl dots and all. I also have a rosewood guitar fretboard, which I'm going to use as part of the body, and 2 pieces of book matched Sitka spruce, and I have the little badge from the VW Wolfsburg that's going to go on the top of the ukulele, on the head, the tuning head, and this little funny silver grill at the bottom. Well, that's actually the original part. That's the hooter cover on a Beetle, so that's just for the sound hole. So on this next slide over here, what I've got is I just put some acrylic black paint on the rim of the hubcap and just dotted it down onto the chopping board, which gave me the exact size of the circle that I needed to chop. That circle on the inside, by the way, was just part of the chopping board. It's one of these weird chopping boards that has a sort of pop-out funnel where you can strain your vegetables. And the chopping board only cost me about £8 or £9, so it was a really good deal. So this is the view from above, and I've also covered the hubcap with lots and lots of masking tape just to prevent it from being scratched or dinged while I was doing all the tooling and working over the next couple of weeks. So here with my jigsaw, I've cut out the piece of wood that I'd marked off, and I've also put a little arrow onto the wood, on the chopping board and onto the hubcap, so I can just keep matching those up in case it's not a perfect circle, but it turns out it really was a perfect circle. I shouldn't be surprised. Here's the view from underneath, and those little pencil markings around the side are just for me as I was looking through the light to see where I needed to do more sanding, because obviously when you use a jigsaw you're not going to be able to cut a perfect circle unless you're really, really accurate. So there was a little bit of sanding here and there just to make it fit neater and neater until the hubcap popped through. And once that had been done, I traced around the outside about 1 centimeter and a bit, and I also drew in my neck shape, and here we have me cutting off the excess. So once I removed the bits, you can see it's actually quite a fragile project at this moment, and I was really, really scared of hitting the bamboo against something, so I had to be really, really careful, because obviously one little tap and it will snap and you'll have to start again. So here's a little, I had an extra piece of spruce, so I started trying out different ideas for some sort of cross bracing. And when you do projects like this, you'll see as I go through this video, you have to change your mind sometimes, and I've had to readjust my planning. So that big sort of half moon shaped bit was eventually completely discarded because I thought it would just deaden the soundboard too much. Yeah, there you go. I put them onto the drawing just to see how they would sit. Here's a slightly different view. And now I'm starting to mock the project up, just laying things down and seeing where things are going to be. Always measuring, always checking and checking. My grandfather used to say, measure twice, cut once. And I have a little maxim, which is also you can always take stuff off, but you can never put stuff on. So whenever I cut, I always cut on the outside of my line, not on the line. That way it means there's more sanding and fine shaping, but boy, once you've made a mistake with your cutting, there's no way of adding the wood back on. The project is essentially ruined. And you can see at the top there, just above the ruler, I've started a heel for my ukulele, but eventually I abandoned that heel because, well, we'll see later on in the video why. So here comes the messy job of sanding the two parts of the soundboard. I'm going to composite them together. I put those little arrows and that little circle with the cross on it to tell me which is the upside and which is the sides that are going to eventually join up with the rosewood. Just to make sure everything matches and just keep on making sure that the sanding is good. Once everything was sanded, and this is also, I had a really good help from a friend of mine called Matthew. He is a carpenter, and so he put those all through his big industrial sander, so they came out exactly 3 millimeters thick. And without his help, this would have been a nasty amount of sanding. So here I am putting the soundboard together, a little bit of excess glue because I know I'm still going to do a lot of sanding, and I just put it on wax paper so that the glue doesn't stick to the paper, and used Guinness cans to hold everything flat, a big sort of slab of stone on the top just to really press things down overnight. Well, here's what it looks like when it had dried, and I traced the circle on the outside again so I can start chopping off the excess, and I even mocked up where I think the sound hole is going to go. So now, using the jigsaw, I've cut off all the excess bits. You can see in the top left of the screen, and I need to just sand off those little bits of white on either side of the guitar fretboard. And here is the big sanding, starting to get all the excess glue off. It's a really pretty sort of contrast between the spruce and the rosewood, and you can see I've completely changed that half moon sized cross brace to rather just a rectangle that I've sanded into shape. You can see it over there, and here's the cross bracing glued on. I try to use minimal cross bracing because I want to make the wood as lively as possible, so it's there just for strength across the whole length of the project, and the one at the back, the big rectangle, that's going to be the connection point as well for the strings. So here's everything being squashed and glued into place again. Now we get back to the rim, and this is where I had to be really slow and careful, because using hand tools and working outside, you don't want to bump this at all. So what I did is I put the hubcap back into place and I traced around it. That gave us that big black pencil line. So that's where the outer rim of the hubcap is going to mesh with the wood. Now what I need to do is file away the wood up to the black line, so I've got a nice neat rounded edge and it looks nice where it joins the hubcap. That was the biggest challenge in this project. How do you attach a piece of metal to a piece of wood and make it a functional instrument and make it look good? So after cutting and sanding, that's the profile now. It's got this nice rounded sort of lip, and here's another shot of it just to sort of give you a better idea. It was a beautiful sunny winter's day, so I was able to do a lot of hand sanding and careful checking. And now you can see why I did that, because once you put the thing on, you get this nice little rounded thing. It's not perfect, but you know, I actually want this to have slight imperfections here and there, because you either go for absolutely perfect, which is really hard, or you go for slight imperfections that are justifiable. So it looks like a handmade project, but a good one. Then what I did is just screwed a few holes, made a few holes, very short little screws, just to hold the hubcap to the wood mechanically, because I wanted both a chemical connection, the glue, and also a mechanical connection, because I don't want that hubcap to ever fall out. So here it is, screwed and glued into place, and I also ran a piece of string just through that little beading. You can see it here on this next picture, and there's glue on the string as well, so that just adds more strength to the connection. I think that's strong enough. In this next picture, I begin to cut out my sound hole, and what I did is I first made a mock-up of some, cardboard from a cereal box, just to make sure that the sound hole could actually fit in nicely. Then I traced it onto the soundboard and cut out a little biscuit of the soundboard, and then just put the sound hole in. There's little metal tabs that you push into place, and it's a mechanical fix, but I also put some glue. And here's what the project looks like with the fretboard just gently placed in place, so I can start getting an idea of what it's going to look like. This next picture is the sound hole with glue. I've flooded the the VW grid with glue as well, just to make it a little bit stronger. And you can see those little metal tabs that sort of fold over. I had to file the wood down a little bit so they could grab it, but there's no way that's ever coming off now. That's integral to the project, and it won't buzz or anything like that. So with this one, I began to make the string holder. I decided to go for 2 separate parts to the bridge, one for holding the string and one for transmitting the vibration of the strings down to the soundboard. So what I did is, first of all, measured the distance I needed between the string and draw them onto a little piece of spare rosewood that I had. And then I heated up a metal blade and burnt the whole lines into the wood. You can see they've been burnt in here. That way I was able to, if you use a hacksaw, you're going to have sometimes little inaccuracies, but by just burning these in, I get perfectly straight lines. And then just using this little finger file, you can see that little sharp file at the top of the picture, I was able to just file out all the burnt wood and make perfectly sized, perfectly parallel, perfectly placed holes. And then that piece was then glued onto another piece, as you can see in this picture, clamped together. And once it's clamped, I just left it to dry, and I also cut another little piece for the other part of the bridge. So here we go, another little part of the project where I'm starting to feel like things are coming together. I wanted to have a strap button, and I wanted to have more of a secure fix, so I just carved a little piece of bamboo that I had spare into this shape with a little hole in it, and made sure it fitted in with the diameter of the bowl. Put it in place with a lot of glue and just left it overnight. So that's now sitting at the bottom of the bowl, ready to take a screw when the time comes. Alrighty, and now came the big scary part of the project, which is to glue the soundboard onto the frame and the bowl as it exists right now. So that's what I did. Lots of glue, lots of extra weight, making it really, really strong. Leave it overnight. And then I came up with a problem, because once everything came off and I was examining the project, I realized that the connection between the neck and the bowl was quite weak. As I was holding it, I could see it moved like a couple of millimeters up and down, but that is terrifying, because once you've got the string tension in there, it's going to cause the neck to pull up and maybe make a sort of bow shape, and just get worse and worse, and eventually fail catastrophically perhaps. Certainly it means that the whole project will be very weak if you ever bump it against something. So I had to completely change my ideas, and I had a sleepless night trying to come up with a solution. And then I came up with a solution, which was to make a much more robust heel. So here you can see me beginning that project. I started with a piece of spruce and profiled it and sanded it and profiled it and sanded it until it matched up perfectly with the curve of the bowl. Then, as you can see here, I've rough cut 2 pieces of spare bamboo, and I'm going to stick that piece of spruce onto the first piece, and you see that little circle, that's where a screw is going to go. So I'm going to have a mechanical connection, and above that is a little wedge cut out. And what I'm going to do is cut away those 2 little double lines so that I have space or drill into the bowl, and I'm going to put some wire through. You'll see it coming up. So first of all, I make this into a little sandwich and glue it overnight, and now you can see that little slot, and that's going to be where the wire comes out, and then I'll twist it. So here I've drilled the holes, and I began to sand down to the spruce to make sure that that's all really, really neat. A lot of sanding and careful matching up and looking and sanding and looking and sanding and going on until it was matched up perfectly. And on this picture you can also see on the top of the bowl I've got a little biscuit of spare dark rosewood, and that's going to cover my little slot, and so you won't see the ugly wiring that's holding it to, because I want a mechanical connection as well as a chemical connection between the bowl and this big old heel that I'm putting on here. At the same time that I was busy doing that in the garden, I began to shape the double bridge a little bit more as well. So you can see there's a bit of work going on here, and I've drawn some pencil lines on it to guide me as I go. Then I drilled 3 holes into the neck, exactly in the right place, and put quite strong countersinking onto them because I want the screw heads to be flush. And this was the fiddly bit. I had to put a piece of thick copper wire through the grill and into the holes that I've drilled into the bowl, and then pull them through, as you can see in this one. And you can see also the heel in the background with 3 holes ready to screw it. So the heel will be glued and screwed to the neck, and then you can see those little holes on the far right. That's where the wire is going to come through. And here's all the gluing ready to go. A messy project. And here it is all glued together, and I didn't, because I had hands full of glue, I didn't take a photograph unfortunately, but I had twisted the wire, pulling and twisting, and that really tightened it up tightly against the bowl. So you've got the mechanical connection of this thick copper wire, plus the glue that's holding it onto the bowl, plus the glue that's holding it onto the neck and the screws. So now you've got this really strong connection, and the problem has been solved. I've also got the little biscuits covering that whole mess at the top, and now all that's needed is some final shaping. So over here you can see I've begun to file off or sand off the excess of the soundboard so that it fits flush with the bamboo rim. And on this next picture you can see I'm starting to shape the neck, and that's also quite scary because I've never worked with bamboo before, so I wasn't sure how it was all going to go. And here you can see I'm starting to fine shape the string holding part of the bridge. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, this was a scary moment, drilling the holes for the neck. And I'd also put the fretboard onto there by then. And in this photograph I've sanded down the head even more, making everything look much better, and I've got it hooked up on a wire to a fence, and I'm going to spray it. But you can see also I've covered the sensitive areas with masking tape so that we don't get any of the spray on there. I'm using nitrocellulose spray specific for guitars, because the spruce is quite soft wood, so if you don't give it a good strong coating, then it's going to pick up all sorts of scratches over the years. And here it is finished with that spray job, and I've also installed the double bridge. You can see all that's in place. The project's basically finished in these photos. I've done all the fine shaping of the neck using just sandpaper, a drill with a flat disc on it that's got sandpaper on it. And yeah, that's all I have, is a drill and a jigsaw and a finger belt sander, and all those fine little bits just have to be done, and you can see the project actually turned out rather good. I've taken all the masking tape off the bowl and given it a good old polish, bit of WD-40 just to seal it off, and then take off the excess. And WD-40 is amazing stuff because it gets rid of any glue residue as well from the masking tape. So I'm very happy with that, and it's quite a neat little project. It's very comfortable to play, and it sounds amazing. It's a little bit louder than my other soprano, and it's quite a sweet, warm, projected sound, so I'm very happy with that. I've used the red strings from Aquila, so they don't have so much tension, so it's really comfortable to fret it as well. And you can see it's the string holder is rather neat. I put those little countersunk triangle bits so that the knots are hidden a little bit. Everything's tightly glued together, and in the second last picture we get the view from the bowl side and then from the top side. So, and the whole time that this video has been going, you've been hearing the ukulele in the background. I hope this has inspired you. My whole aim with these videos is to challenge other ukulele players to consider making yourself a ukulele. It's just really rewarding to make these little things, and that you don't need masses of skill. You just need a lot of patience, a lot of measuring, a lot of thinking, a lot of problem solving. And videos like this on the internet are helpful. I've seen a few other guys doing things, and it's given me little bits of inspiration as time has gone by. So yeah, make one. Thanks for watching. Share my videos, subscribe, and I'll catch you again later on. Cheers.